I think we got the best fans in the league. The Arrowhead carries the torch for being the best fans in the league. Some of the loudest ones and the most fun ones. So
the atmosphere, the fan base, the support groups had an impact on our season.
This fan base is dialed in.
Like I'm gassing you guys up and gassing up the state of Utah, but it's the truth. You guys have one of the best fan supporter groups.
I'm going home to play for my hometown team. Looking back to when I was 10 years old, that's every kid's dream.
Welcome to another episode of the Arrowhead podcast. We are your official podcast, the official supporter group of the Archers Lacrosse Club, and so excited for this episode. We are continuing our episodes of families of players, and we're so excited to have Reid and Susan Stines with us, mum and dad of Ryan Stines, who obviously was drafted this year. Guys, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right, so we start every episode the same way. Tell us about yourselves. Who are, Susan and Reid Stein? Tell us about you guys.
Ladies first.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Susan, Ryan's mom. Let's see. I guess to describe who we are, we're huge sports fans, of course. We love the outdoors. We really have benefited from Ryan choosing Utah as his second home, and so we're just a family that loves to be outside. Spend a lot of time at the beach, surfing, hiking, all those sorts of things. So we're just an active family that likes to keep things simple, I guess, and. Yeah, as far as what I do in life, I work for a leadership development and culture company. So I do a lot of leadership coaching and develop a lot of workshops on all those soft skills that people need to navigate life. But my real passion is actually here nibbling on my arm, my little dog Manuka. So I'm also a dog trainer and love to do that. So that's enough about me. What about you?
Yeah, so a lot of the same, hobbies, pastimes, passions, father to Ryan and also Carly, his older sister, who lives and works out in California. And I don't know if you can see her, but Manuka's crawling up on laps right here. But yeah, we Susan and I met in undergrad at Wake Forest University a long time ago. Been together since. We've been back in North Carolina. We moved around a little bit shortly after getting married, but have been back in North Carolina now almost 25 years. So this is definitely home. And yeah, have been kind of really enjoying the ride, especially here of late.
Love it. We won't ask you who the favorite is, whether it's the children or the dog. We won't ask that because, I don't want the kids to hear the devastating news.
The children left me, so now it's the dog, for sure. I mean, how dare they go off and follow dreams, right?
The dog's not 2,000 miles away right now.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, kids, that's the important stuff here. Real quick, we had Ryan on an episode right after he got drafted. We had him on, and fans have come to know him obviously through his play. But who is Ryan off the field? Growing up as a child, tell us about Ryan as the individual.
Well, I have to admit you did give me this question in advance because I wanted to make sure I had good stories, nothing too embarrassing, right? Because moms tend to blather on. But Ryan has always been Ryan. Although as a kid, the energy level off the charts, just off the charts. We have a little basketball goal in the backyard, and so neighbors would hear that ball bouncing at 6 a.m. And then we'd get up, and by noon we were exhausted, and so we would create obstacle courses for him that would go around the house. We'd open both gates to the backyard, and he would just run around. We'd time him, and we'd be like, see if you can go faster, while we're sitting in a chair oh, please run out of energy or something. So,
our 30 seconds of respite.
Yeah. So super energetic, really playful. One of my favorite things about Ryan growing up was, I don't know if y'all are familiar with Calvin and Hobbes, right? And Calvin would always play Calvin ball. And it's just made up rules games all the time.
Usually designed so the game designer would win.
Sometimes, yeah, that would be the case.
Yeah.
And so Ryan, growing up, was the master of new games to play. Wherever we were, he was going to find a new game, a new way to use a ball. So yeah, he was fun. Loved tagging along after his older sister. She's 3 years older. We used to joke, if you think Ryan's tough, you just haven't met his sister yet. Not in necessarily the outward way. Like, she did not play lacrosse. She was a swimmer. And one of the reasons she didn't play lacrosse is she discovered, women's lacrosse. She was like, what do you mean you can't hit people? She'd watched Ryan, beating on people for years, and then she thought about trying out and doing it, but she was like, no, that's not violent enough. I've been looking forward to the violence of it. But
we didn't beat our children.
We
I
did
promise
not.
You.
But yeah, so I would say, the biggest thing about Ryan was playful, and also just once he decided he was doing something, just get out of the way. Right? There's no change in his mind. There's no change in how he's going to do it. It's just he gets on that straight and narrow path and just goes. So yeah, that both playful and serious side, I guess, would best describe him growing up.
I love that. My kids, one of my boys plays lacrosse with a kid who sounds like that, just up all the time, playing sports, doing something all the time. And so many parents like, how do you teach him that? And they're like, it's just them. That's how they are. And I'm assuming that was probably sounds like that's the same with Ryan, right?
Yeah, I remember, and I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. We had friends, and I think this was by the time they were maybe in late middle school or high school. And, some of the kids were starting to get a little more serious than some of the others and, whatever else. But I remember one family kind of asking us, like, Ryan's really, doing well. How do you get him to keep practicing, and how do you get him to work out? Because he's obviously starting to get a little bit stronger and everything. And our answer was we have to get him to not do that. We have to take a break, let your body relax, just don't do too much. And kind of your family's friend, you just kind of have to, sometimes find, that brake pedal, or, take your foot off the gas a little bit. And yeah, I mean, he was definitely one of those kids, once he, defined this path and completely fell in love with this sport, just in nonstop working, whether it be in the, the side yard, or, down at a local field, or, in the gym, it was just, it was kind of nonstop. So and I think you remember when you had your interview with him, I think he mentioned one of the things, or a key to success was overcoming obstacles and kind of being persistent in that way. And I think that's something that, kind of speaks to him quite a bit. He's pretty serious, he's pretty dedicated. But, I guess on the flip side, he's also kind of a goofball sometimes, but just not everybody sees that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys sharing all that with us, because I think so many kids listen to our episodes. We have a lot of high schools that listen, and they want to be the next Reid and Stines, right? And so it's great to hear, kids get out, be active, be self-motivated. Last question before I hand over to Brady real quick, so I'm going to throw one at you that I didn't put in there in the pre-notes, but your favorite memory of him growing up playing lacrosse as a kid, whether it's in high school, youth, what's one of your favorite memories when you look back and you're like, oh yeah, that was the best time?
Do you have one off the bat?
Well, I mean, this is kind of a silly one, and I'm sure I could think of something sort of a more serious one as well. But the thing that always comes to mind when we're talking youth and travel lacrosse is, it sometimes it was sort of a family experience where, Ryan's sister would come because it was a weekend away, and he went to a fair share of swimming events as well, so it was kind of mutual. But inevitably, and I think this was probably in middle school years again, but being in a hotel room somewhere, the four of us, when we went together, like the girls would be in one queen size bed, we'd be in another. And, I'm sure everybody that's done this knows, where I might be going. But every time we did this, like every night, it turned into this fight of like trying to control your half of the bed. And, usually it stayed pretty light and, just lots of like just hysterical laughing and stuff. And one time we didn't know this, but our daughter was recording Ryan and I basically having World War III over in our queen bed at a Motel 6 somewhere, wherever we were. And later that, I think it was almost like maybe the holidays, she pulled out this recording of Ryan and I having this tussle, and Ryan's like high-pitched little laugh and everything. And again, it's like so counter to how he is a lot of the time when he's really focused and dedicated and trying and stuff. And that was just delightful.
We all have that recording still on our phones.
Yeah,
and
it's like 10 years old.
Resurfaced, and you need a little pick-me-up. We just play that button, and you hear this laughter, this uncontrollable laughter.
Just giggling.
So that's a really fun family memory.
We can talk to the league about getting that as a sound effect for every time he scores a goal. So
Yeah.
take the goal horn away and just have that noise. That'd be great. So
That would be absolutely hilarious. Oh, that reminds me, like his freshman year at Utah, their trainer, Sika Glauser, who's like the best person on the planet, she arranged for Ryan's goal song to be some song that was like the complete opposite of like Ryan's music tastes and just overall vibe. I don't even remember what it was, but she commented she did that for a few games until Ryan caught on and then, kindly asked her to cease and desist.
I love it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing that, that story of the hotel room. And it seems like you guys got a really close-knit family. And, one of the questions, this is kind of like coming out of left field, but, what is one of like the Stines family favorite dishes? Like if you're inviting everybody over for Sunday dinner, like what's the kids' favorite dish? What is something that you guys frequent over there?
We actually chatted about this for a while, and it's funny when the kids were younger, they like certain dishes, like this weird cornbread casserole was this, they loved it, and no one wants to eat that now, right? They're just like, so I raised my kids to be kind of healthy, and then one turns into this, meat eating but super healthy guy, and then the daughter turns into like a mostly vegetarian, and then so for a few years there it was rough, right? How do we all come together and eat a meal where we're not cooking 27 million things? But as we talked about it today, we know what everyone would choose as their favorite dish: fish tacos followed by ice cream. Ice cream is the best food on the planet. None of that stuff with gums or fillers. It's got to be 100% pure ice cream. And fish tacos of all kinds.
What flavor ice cream? I have to know.
Oh, Ryan would be cookies and cream, for sure. That was always a favorite of his.
Definitely as a kid, and now he's more of a gelato guy. And
That's true.
so his tastes have maybe kind of matured a little bit, but as a kid, definitely cookies.
Always
and
cookies
cream.
and cream. Yeah. Yep.
That's fun. And, with Ryan as a kid, how did that, being on the East Coast and stuff, lacrosse is a little bit more popular, especially I imagine in North Carolina. But how did he get his start in the sport? What were the resources like in your area at that time? Because he eventually went to, is it Panther Creek? That's the name of the high school he went to? Okay, kind of walk us through that a little bit.
You, me?
I can start.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm sure he got all his lacrosse knowledge from me, being that I had never heard of it. We were driving to one of it. He played all sports, basketball, football, all of this stuff, and we're driving to a sports practice, and we see it in a field, and he is like up on the window, amazed by the gear. and everybody's running around.
It's like the proverbial dog that sees a squirrel.
Yeah, it was 100% love at first sight, right? It was just like, oh my God, what is that? And I was like, I have no idea. I've never seen that before in my life. And you had played like an intramural game at Wake Forest one time, right? So it definitely came 100% from him. This was not something, oddly enough, it's the one sport we didn't coach him in. Take from that what you will. I coach basketball, he coached football and baseball.
That's true.
But lacrosse was his love from the moment he saw it. Now here in North Carolina, I think we lucked out a lot because we're not a hotbed, as you know, even though we have UNC and Duke, and so we can see a lot of great lacrosse, and we certainly went to a lot of that. Eventually went to Charlotte Hounds games, all that kind of stuff. But here it's, at the time, a lot of small clubs trying to figure it out with a bunch of Northerners that had moved here, leading most of the clubs. And first club he did happened to be run by, I don't remember his last name, a guy named Ryan from Syracuse.
Yeah.
And then for years he was with a small club called Red Devils Lacrosse. And it seemed like each time, everywhere along the way, it was just, what do you need down here is just somebody that keeps you excited about it. And he was coached by Ron Ateshian, who's from New York. And he didn't just do the couple practices a week that the club did. No, he added the hill. And thank God, right? Because Ryan always wanted to go to the hill. So those were extra practices that he could always go to they were free.
Like extra practice and conditioning sessions, and these are for like 5th and 6th grade kids. And, not to disparage anybody, but a lot of kids were like, oh, I don't want to do the hill. And Ryan's like, oh, I get to do the hill.
It's hill night.
I get to run up and down a hill. This is awesome.
So that's a club that was very focused on, fundamental skills, right, and youth development, and it wasn't out of this world crazy with travel, right? I know a lot of people struggle with that, and they tried to keep it age appropriate. We did some traveling. Of course, we went up to Maryland, like once a year. That was the big trip, but otherwise kept it closer to home, like Richmond, Virginia.
The Carolinas, and Virginia. Yeah.
And then as Ryan got older, the fateful thing, as we said, some kids weren't too serious about it, and 10 kids quit his team right as he was going into high school for the summer. And he did his own research, came to us, and said, I either want to go up to D.C. or I want to go to Charlotte. That's 4 hours and 2.5 hours. Wow. And so, but the reality was there weren't enough kids really into it in our area at that time to support a really high quality team for the kids that wanted to go further. So we did the insane thing, and because he didn't have a younger sibling, I drove him to practice. You sometimes drove him to practice to Charlotte.
A couple of times a week. 2 hours, 15 minutes, usually. Can do that drive in our sleep now. But also...
Go ahead.
Like, part of that, which was an absolute just godsend, was the director of that was a fellow who was a multi-time All-American at Carolina, played in the MLL, played in the PLL, guy by the name of Ryan Flanagan, who actually came out and visited with the Archers and his club team when they were practicing in Charlotte. But an absolutely, wonderful person, and a guy who just works tirelessly on behalf of the players and the families in his program, as far as, not only developing their skills and, their personalities, their everything else, but also, finding them matches to play if they, wish to play beyond high school. So that was an example of falling out of the lucky tree and hitting every branch and landing in a pile of cash. Like just a wonderful situation.
So tell me a little bit more about this drive. Are you guys driving at the beginning of the week and at the end of the week, or is it 2 or 3 times throughout the week for every practice he has? Because that's like 4 hours of driving in a day, right? What does that look like?
Well, when it started, while school was still in session, we would have to go there and back, and Ryan would do his homework in the car, and we'd get home around 11 o'clock at night. That was
Once or twice a week?
I think it was twice a week during the school year. And then some great families that lived in Charlotte that we had met. You know how lacrosse is a small world, so he already knew a lot of the guys over there, and a couple of the families offered to let us do just what you said. Go at the beginning of the week, drop them off, and pick them up at the end of the week, and he would just stay with them for a few, during the weeks, and sometimes for a couple weeks during the season, just depending on how travel was working out. So just a great atmosphere. The families were super supportive. We were glad to have that. Very grateful.
Well, he's also, I'm sure, very grateful to have you guys. I'm not sure if I would have been a parent if I'd been willing to do that. You guys are awesome in supporting him in those dreams and being willing to sacrifice 4 hours of driving, in an afternoon. That's a long time.
Can I ask a follow-up question real quick? Because I think this is something super interesting to me. Certainly, personally, I have 3 boys that have played lacrosse. My youngest is going into high school this year, and he's actually going to go to a different school than where he should, at least for his freshman year. He's been having people call him of like, hey, come to school here. And as a parent, it is my son being like, hey, this is the best opportunity for me. Like, talk to me about that as a parent when your son comes to you and says, hey, I want to go here. It's hours away, but I feel this is the best opportunity for me. And you're looking at, a 13, 14-year-old kid going, okay, there's only this amount of professional teams that play. Like, where is this really going to end up? Like, talk to us, because there's that level of me that's like, son, I love you, but come on, let's be real, right? But like, you guys committed to that, and I love that. Like, talk to me a little bit about that process when he came to you.
Well, I think I'd say the first thing is, every kid asks for all kinds of things, and you got to be pretty dedicated to like your family values to be able to make that right decision for your kid and for your family. And he certainly came to us at some point and said, hey, can I go to XYZ private school? There's a lot of great private lacrosse schools. And so for us, that was never on the table. For Reid and I. It might have been for Ryan, but we're willing to do an awful lot to support someone's dreams, but we were not ready to separate our family at that age. We just weren't ready. And so for us, we feel like family is super important, and, soon enough, 18, they're going to be out of the house in all likelihood. And so we wanted those 17, 18 years. But what we were willing to do, and because, as Reid said, I'd had other moms coming to me and saying, how do you get your kid to work out? How do you get your kid to do, I don't get him to do anything. I'm trying to get him to clean his room maybe, but I'm not trying, he's doing all that other stuff 100% on his own. Had he not been doing all of that on his own, the answer to going to Charlotte would have been no, right? He had already shown, I didn't look up those clubs. He looked up those clubs to the point where he actually told me the strategy that he had for joining each of those clubs based on the defensive power of the clubs, because it meant the attackmen were going to get the ball. And he did look out that, I don't know how familiar you are with all the different teams or recruiting. A well-known defenseman played with him on that Charlotte team. His name's Bobby Van Buren. Pretty well established as one of the top defensive guys. He was out last year due to an injury. They played together. And that's not the only team they played together. They played, some of those tryout teams that they do here and there. They played together for that. And so, to me, that's it. It's got to be driven by the kid.
Yeah.
It can't be anything about me. A, because I know nothing about lacrosse. But B, because it is their dream. And if a lot of kids want, to do something, but they're not willing to endure what it takes to get there. And so that's all it is then. It's a want. It's not actually a dream with actions behind it. So for me, that's the advice, right? Follow the kid, and if they're not leading you, then don't go there.
Yeah. That's actually really interesting. because it's Ryan showing the dedication beforehand, so that when he asks for that favor, there's like no question that he's already put in the work, and that it's something that he really wants. I think, even us as adults, we're like, hey, we should do this or we should get this, but we haven't demonstrated that level of commitment yet that justifies it probably. And so that's really cool that, like you guys said, it wasn't ever a question of saying, well, maybe play for another year and let's see how dedicated you are before we do that. Like the dedication was already saved in the bank for that. Talking about, opportunities in recruitment, tell us a little bit about how you guys were feeling about the University of Utah reaching out. He had mentioned in our interview with him that he had dream schools, in North Carolina, but that he was really grateful to end up at the University of Utah. So I would love to hear your guys' perspective on what you guys thought about Utah before that and kind of that transition, because that eventually leads us here to the Archers.
You want to go? You took that visit.
Well, I did, yeah. So, recruiting is kind of a two-way street. And, probably every kid in North Carolina wants to play at Duke or at Chapel Hill. And, there's only so many slots, and there's a whole lot of kids from, other areas that want to play there too. So, when Ryan went into the recruiting process, the mentor that I mentioned previously, Ryan Flanagan from the Charlotte Travel Club, he was instrumental and did just an outstanding job of kind of matching kids with, hey, you're an X, Y, and Z player, and this is kind of the tier that you should be focusing the most of your time on. And, Susan mentioned Bobby Van Buren. Bobby, you should go wherever you want to go because they will take you. And then, other players are like, here's your kind of tier of schools and programs, both athletically and academically that you would be a good match for. So for Ryan's sake, Utah kind of fell within the tier that, he was likely to be, most successfully, potentially matriculate to. So, we'd taken a number of visits to schools, kind of on the, in the East Coast. And then Brian Holman invited Ryan out for an official visit. And this is where it's like, Susan was like, well, you go do that one because Ryan's probably not going to go all the way out there and go to the University of Utah.
Yeah, he actually, when he came to me and he was like, they want me to go out to Utah, Mom. Can we go? And I was like, you're not going to go to Utah. I didn't say that. I was just like, you're not going to go to Utah. He wasn't that kid that was always wanting to travel, like my daughter always wanted to travel, go places, right?
Yeah.
And,
more of a homebody.
I was like,
at that
what?
time.
If they'll make it an official visit, you can go. Because I was like, I don't want to pay for all that if you're gonna, And he comes back, it's an official visit, Mom, we're going, and I just look at him and like, take that trip, honey.
But it was. So we had Ryan had a number of visits lined up after that. We went out there and Coach Holman, Coach Manny, Coach Gittleman were, incredibly gracious. Marcus Holman was actually away at a wedding that weekend, so he wasn't part of Ryan's official visit. But it was a lovely visit. And the thing that made it kind of stand apart from the geography and the location and the facilities, all of which, are just otherworldly, was they really had a plan for how they would use Ryan as a player.
It was really specific.
It was specific. It was the potential to be immediate. And he was, he kind of said, there's other schools that I might be interested in, but this is the one that is giving me a chance to realistically play, on, the first game against Denver in the spring of my freshman year. And that, I think, was the part that was really, impressive and really moved him a lot. And then, like, short story long, by I think it was Saturday night of the visit, Ryan's like, we're meeting with the coaches in the morning. I think they're going to provide me an offer. I want to accept. And I was like, you are not accepting before we get home, and you have a long talk with mom, because 1,862 miles I think is a pretty long distance.
Yeah.
But over time, we kind of talked ourselves into, like, a 4 or 5 hour flight is the same as a 7-hour drive up to somewhere in the Northeast. So we talked ourselves into it.
But true to Ryan, he called me while he was out there, and all he said was, "I'm going to Utah," and hung up the phone.
Sure.
I didn't know if he was joking or if he was serious, and I didn't get to find out till he got home.
So you guys mentioned, recruitment being a two-way street. And as you guys kind of talked through more of that story, I could definitely see that, Utah had shown that dedication and commitment to him before the visit. That they weren't just, he was a kid that they were hoping to grab and, he'd be a reserve player. He was going to be a key part of their recruitment. And so I think that's probably what felt really good for you guys, right? It's just being like, oh, we know that they're going to take care of him, that they have a plan for him. And that's probably really reassuring as parents when it is such a large move, right? Mm-hmm. It's not 3 hours up the road. It's like a 4-hour flight. It's on the other side of the country. So that's really cool.
Which, when you find out someday that your kid is being rushed into surgery, like, it's really good to know that that he's got wonderful people taking care of him. Yeah. So it's a wonderful, outstanding community. And, Coach Holman started it. Coach McMinn and his staff, like, everybody there are just absolutely top notch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and this will be my last question before I hand it back off to James, but talk to us about going out to games in Utah and how that transitioned into him going to pro lacrosse, specifically for the Archers in Utah.
Well, we probably made it to half the games plus any postseason games, so we tried to make it out there a lot. I think what's really, at least in our impression, we've been part of a lot of different lacrosse teams over the years, been to a lot of tournaments and games, and I think what set Utah apart was not just the coaching, but the parent culture is just amazing. And I think that initial group of parents that were part of the transition from club to D1 lacrosse, they were a very tight-knit group, but not in the way that was exclusionary, more in this way of, we're excited to be part of something new and exciting, and they were excited for every family that came in. And, quite honestly, Jodelle, who was sort of our ringleader, her son played
Justice Peterson. His mom was just really great at rallying everybody in just the most wholesome, fun way. So I think that has just been a really great part of our experience and I know that's continuing. We've been amazed at the younger folks coming in, the younger parents coming in, and how they're just trying to build up the parent connection more and more, build on the fun, build on all of those things. So that's been a great part of our personal experience out there. Our experience is sometimes a little different than other parents when they go out there. Again, Ryan has this very serious, focused nature, right? So we could be out there for a week, maybe watching 2 games, and we'll get him for 2 dinners, right? Because I don't know if you ask Sika, the trainer, she might have a lot of free time on her hands if you need any treatment, because Ryan would take advantage of every maximizing recovery, treatment, and everything. And so, I think that's great. That's another thing about the program, right? They want to meet you where you are, and, if you want to maximize every little thing, you can. So that was fun.
the camaraderie. Like, we've been on hikes with Sika. We've met parents. They bring their dogs. It's just such a wonderful atmosphere. And, Coach McMinn's children are running around and they love the players. When he did go to Utah, one of the first pictures that we have is Coach McMinn's daughter with a big 6 on her face, wearing a Utah shirt, hanging out
Archers.
with Ryan. Yeah.
Utah Archers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the Utah Archers.
Yeah.
And so, I just think it just speaks to the quality of the people in the program there. So, and Ryan being so focused and, just like, it's a place that let him do that, let him be him.
Yeah.
So I think that was great. And then you mentioned that transition to the Archers,
That's been outstanding as well. Like, we just keep getting thrown in with these really super nice people, and I don't know why, but we're not going to argue.
Yeah.
But the Pedersons, like Amy McGuire is hosting a tailgate in Boston this weekend before the game against the Chaos slash Charlotte Hounds. So yeah, I mean, everybody has been just from the Archers' perspective, have been absolutely 100% welcoming and friendly, and they have get-togethers sometimes after games if the schedules allow it with families and friends and stuff, and those have all been wonderful. Like, it's really a nice community. Like, we didn't have any idea what to expect. Like, we don't have the Pinnells or anybody as a neighbor, so we had no idea. And it's really been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ryan has said the same thing when we talk with him. I think the thing he found just so overwhelmingly nice was, like he mentioned right away, Sam King just immediately, he said, took him under his wing.
Yeah.
And, Ryan says it's up to him to reach out if he has questions and stuff, but there are people that right away, they want him to be successful and fit in. And so we can see that he does, because again, that straight and narrow kid he's going out with the guys, he's loosening up, I think, a little bit compared to college days where, those relationships are being made, and that I just don't think that happened without such a quality group. That I feel like the Archers just have this cohesiveness to them. I don't know if maybe every team has it, but I've been grateful, and it's been fun to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen that Coach Bates, especially with rookies, gives them a very long leash, and that's really fun. Like, we didn't know that really at first until we started interviewing some of the guys over the draft picks, and I think, honestly, any rookie it's good to get in the league in general, but for development purposes, I think the Archers is probably one of the best clubs to be in for that reason. So
he seems to be, a similar mindset, like makes up his mind what he's going to do and does it. And that's Ryan, right? And Ryan was just as surprised as everyone when Bates took him at 9. But Bates had been talking to people, right? And he was making up his own mind and not really part of all the last minute conversations. He had done his homework and decided, I guess. I mean, I guess he would know better than me, but that's what it appeared like,
So when did you guys know? Because I got a text from Libby. Shout out to Libby, who we work with at the PLL. We're doing a draft party. We're in downtown Salt Lake, and I get a text. She's like, "You guys are gonna love this pick." And I was like, "Okay,
yeah, really?
let's go." And so,
You knew
when did
before us?
You knew before
What
we
the
did.
heck?
that was the question? Like, when did you guys know? Because do you guys
You
just
need
watch
to send me
TV?
your contact information. What? Come on.
We actually, we had no idea. So, well, not no idea. So back to Ryan Flanagan, right? He called me the night before the draft. And so he's still advocating for his players, right? And he gives me this call and he's like, okay, anything can go wonky in the draft. So nothing is guaranteed, but I'm as sure as I can be that he's going to go in the 3rd round. Right? And he's like, it could go wonky, right? Picks can change and then you're not on the board, but Like, he's got some strong boards on a couple of teams, more than one team in the third round. So just be sure to tune in. And of course, we were tuned in from the beginning, but actually our daughter was texting him like, wait, where can I watch it? I'm trying to get it on.
No, she actually texted, how long is this going to take? Because, like the first round, like the picks, are 5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So it takes a little while because
she
you
was
got to
still
show
working.
highlights and stuff. And she's like, how long is this going to take? And right when she was doing that, it was the first pick of the second round. And we were pretty surprised. And that's, to answer your question, James, that's when we found
knew.
out. We found out when the pick was announced. And yeah, she screamed. I was texting and not sure what was happening next to me on the couch. And yeah, the rest is a lot of great history.
I love that. It must be so fun for you guys. Like, we've just talked about his progression, and from starting, like, looking out the window and seeing the lacrosse on the field, to saying, I want to go to this high school and drive 2 hours each way, to now it's kind of come to the point where you're like, you made it. You did it, buddy. Like, how was that conversation with him afterwards of, like, from the parent side of, like, you had this dream and you've made it?
I don't know if that sinks in yet. Even to this day, like, there's a lot of pride, but there's also we might have driven to some places and wrote a check here or there, but we didn't do like the 8,000 hours of work. So you don't want to be like overly prideful, but still like very, very proud. And it's just kind of funny. We he had a time in college. They played at Syracuse. He had a goal that, like a Rob Pennell question mark from 5 and 5, and one of the lacrosse media things put it out, and he was like, look at this great goal or whatever. And Rob Pennell actually replied to this Twitter post with the little textbook emoji. And I remember at the time thinking, well, like, you just got mentioned in a tweet by Rob Pennell. Like, Rob Pennell knows you exist. I don't know how anything will ever get any better. And then a couple weeks ago, after they played the Whip Snakes, somebody took a picture of the two of them kind of having a chat on the field after the game. And just like that level of surrealism, like, it still doesn't sink in. Like, I know Ryan's just like in his absolute glory, and we're just kind of right there with him.
Well, we are so... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, like, on the flip side, the weird part of all this happening is that as I watch it, right, and we are so surprised, right, because you never know what's going to happen for somebody. But I think what's kind of interesting about Ryan, and particularly being in a non-hotbed area, going to a high school where his senior year, he's the only one playing lacrosse year-round on the whole team, that's not a recipe for success for most people, And I think the thing that I'm so surprised that he made it, and then on this other weird side, I'm not surprised that he made it. Right? And that's weird because the chances of him making it are so small. But I'm not surprised because all along the way there were these people that knew lacrosse that said, oh, wait a minute. Wait, that kid's good. Or holy cow, he's got a high lacrosse IQ, and it was just people that we fought very hard not to be those parents that are like, my kid's the best in the world, he's going to do this or that. It was always like, I mean, if you say so, right? We had to rely on people that saw something in him, that knew a lot more than we did. And yeah, I think that's the weird thing about it, like, so impossible, and yet the way he is like he just keeps going, Yeah. So anyway.
I love that. And I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's so great to hear in both your ways of, like, just the pride you have for him and the work he's done and to getting there, but also just the recognition that he did it, but all the people along the way also that helped him. Like, there's so many kids that try and have parents push them, and they're trying to go to the right school and trying to push them. And and to be like, yeah, he had the odds stacked against him, but he never quit on his dream, and I love that. So, fast forward to now. I mean, he's almost to the tail end of his first regular season with the Archers. He's killing it. We're grateful that Brian Holman didn't trade up to try and get his guy back. That we got Ryan Stines. But he's got now in conversation for Rookie of the Year. Like, his name is being banded out there. Like, talk to us about being his parents, like watching this first season and seeing him excel. How has that been for you?
Well, dream come true for me because college is stressful.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that way. Yeah.
I found the college years stressful. Probably, I think that's one thing, like if your kid has those dreams, whatever sport they're in, to keep playing, right? Every cold, they can't play, or they're playing through something, or they get a concussion, they can't play, or they, an injury, or anything could derail the dream because it's this tiny, minuscule, right? So it's minuscule chance. And so I found it kind of stressful. I couldn't do anything about it, right? I'm just watching it, supporting him wherever we could, but I found it stressful. And now I'm just like, for me, I'm like, icing on the cake, dude. Every good thing that happens, I'm like, well, would you look at that? Holy cow. Right. And so, yeah, for me, it literally is pure fun now for me. I know he takes it very seriously, and it's but,
yeah, this is only from us. Like, yeah. I think his level of intent and seriousness is probably ratcheted up even further. But yeah, for us, it's just joy.
Yeah, it really is, and we've never cared if he gets an award or not. He's even said, I think, in an interview, any award I get is for my parents. Because we're like, ooh.
I have yet to see an award, though. By the way.
What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Like, I've never been handed a trophy. Like, if they're actually for us.
Oh, yeah, no, he hasn't handed them to us.
I haven't seen any.
But
Mike Rabel, you heard it here. You know who delivering the trophy to him, Mike Rabel, for Rookie of the Year. We know who it's going to. So,
well, and I just think it's such an honor to play with. There's only 8 teams in the league. The level of talent and dedication that every single person out there has. We're talking like Ryan Special. We know that everybody out there had to have their brand of dedication to get where they are, and. So that's just, it's pure fun to be mentioned with maybe some more well-known names. Spalina is killing it, this year, and Chad Palumbo, what is it? They call it the Summer of Chad.
Aiden McGuire's doing
Aiden
great.
McGuire's doing Magoo,
Magoo.
Doing great. We're just loving, to be mentioned with all these other dedicated players. That's the honor. Whoever ends up being the Rookie of the Year, will deserve it. And, it's just fun to watch that. It is, I won't lie, it is fun to see when people are like, ooh, look who's in, the running for Rick. I will admit, fully fun right there.
Sure. Yeah.
But the more fun is seeing how great all those rookies are playing, and their teams just must be doing a great job supporting them.
Well, and getting another pennant like you have behind you with how the second half of the season is going.
I think that would mean more.
Yeah. That's been, especially after, the first few weeks and, the offense taking some time and, then Ryan being an offensive player, it's kind of like, oh, this is not going fabulously at this point. And it's been nice to see, kind of them get traction and really start to contribute and not rely entirely on the back end every game, or at least be complimentary.
Yeah, love that. And we'll start the rumor here now that Joey Spallina has a Ryan Stines poster on his wall. And so we'll start that rumor now. Last question for you guys. Obviously, you've seen him progress and get to where he is today. Now he's playing in the pros, and like you say, we'd love to see him as a champion at the end of the season. But going forward, what's your hopes and dreams for him as on the field and off the field?
I mean, this is obviously his passion and it's his pursuit, and I hope he achieves what he hopes to achieve, and it provides him a path forward. He's got a number of people in his life that love him dearly, and I hope all of those, us included, continue to be in good graces and everything else. I would guess like a majority of his dreams, like non-personal related, are probably lacrosse specific. So, we certainly hope health and success and everything that goes along with that. And, I do think he's continuing to make like really good friends and relationships through this wonderful game. And, hopefully there'll be opportunities for personal and other types of growth from that. So, yeah, just hope all the best.
Yeah, Ryan has always said, since he's been an adult, right, waxing philosophic, that he says being an athlete is a selfish pursuit. And he has also said what he hopes to do is do as well as he can in that selfish pursuit to leverage that to influence and advocate for others. So I know he's already partnered up with Jimmy Perkins with his new complete lacrosse thing, and he has his own, athletics pursuits, strength and conditioning and all of that. And he truly has always wanted to grow the game, help people have access to the health information. That's everything that he's gotten has been from lacrosse, an interest in nutrition, an interest in conditioning, an interest in strengthening. And shout out to Joe Pearson at the Strength Feed in Raleigh, who fed that interest wholeheartedly. And so, yeah, I just hope he's fulfilled in that dream of pursuing a selfish pursuit to have the opportunity to then give back to that community. I think would be most fulfilling for him.
Love that. I'm so grateful he's a Utah guy now. So it has been for a long time. So as long as he stays here, we love that. We appreciate you both for being on and giving the time you did tonight, and also for all you did for Ryan. Obviously, like, I'm a parent with kids that have played, and I know the dedication it is, and to see the way that you raised him and to see him on the field and who he is, just kudos to both of you for being amazing parents to him. And so thank you for that, and thank you for allowing us to enjoy your son week in, week out now as a Utah Archer. So thank you to both of you.
Well, yeah, we've enjoyed the conversation and appreciate y'all the same. Like, love watching your content and your support of the Archers, who we're now diehard fans of. So it's a good match.
Yeah.
And let's hope we can all have some fun here in September. So
exactly.
That'd be a good time.
I'm going to be making a trip out there.
Love it. We hope you guys have to make a trip out here. So
Me too.
we're one win winner, and we're in.
Yeah.
So with that, again, we appreciate the time you've given us. And Brady, you want to take us out?
Yeah, I mean, a big matchup with the Chaos this week. Currently ranked number 2 in the standings, so it's above all else, win, man. Let's go out there and win.
Above all else, win. So thank you to the Stines. Thank you guys for being on tonight. And we hopefully will see you out here in September.
All right. Hope to see you there.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See you.
This podcast is not affiliated with the Premier Lacrosse League or Archers Lacrosse Club. This is an independent, fan-run podcast.
The arrowhead we aim, we fly through the chaos, cut in the sky. Hit the mark, we never miss. Lacrosse is live and it starts with